Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, so let's just dive in. And let's start off with this tweet over here from Northman Trader. We do see central banks are now the primary cause of financial instability. And I would argue that we have been seeing the central banks being an igniter of financial instability for a very long time, even going all the way back to the 2008 crisis and even prior. And I believe that when we really kind of look at things happening around this entire financial market, this entire economy as well, I think that this is all leading up to the great financial reset. We've been talking about this for a while on this channel. We've been warning people about this. And I think that's already kind of starting globally. We do see over here from Gold Telegraph, pension chiefs are now warning the Bank of England of further chaos if market life supports ends on Friday. The central bank continues to warn that the risk of a financial crisis has not gone away. This is what happens in a confidence crisis. And we've been watching the Bank of England for a while. I think that when we look at the UK, there's a ton of crypto-driven events and crypto-driven regulations as well as adoption happening over in the UK. And I think that this is all leading up to what's going to be happening after the Great Reset. I know that a lot of people have been talking about this Great Reset and thinking that it's all just a big buzzword and this huge sort of media agenda. But if you look close enough, you could see everything unfolding rapidly around the monetary system. You could see the push towards digitization, tokenization, CBDCs, all of it is happening at a very rapid pace. And I think everyone should be paying attention to this. Also, just so that you guys know, talking more so about what is happening around the Fed, today we do see the CPI report come out. So this is a huge day for anybody out there that is a trader that is in this market. I think that by the time that this video does go live, we might have already have seen them come out. But yeah, today has been the big day that we have been waiting for. And this is really kind of, playing into everything happening within inflation, within our current monetary system. We've been paying a close attention to the Federal Reserve and their major updates. We know November 1st and the 2nd are the FOMC meetings for November, and then in December we also do have another FOMC meeting, and that's going to be the last one for the end of the year. These are two big areas to focus on as well. The FOMC meetings definitely play a big role in really kind of igniting market movement. So definitely stay tuned to the CPI reports. If they already got released, then you could probably already see the price action. But all of this is leading into central banks and their next major plan. I think that they will reset the entire system. I think that they will essentially collapse the fiat system and usher us into the digitized one. Again, it's all kind of speculation, if you will, or conspiracy, but if you really kind of look close enough, like I said, you could see everything kind of moving fast towards that area. And it's all kind of centered on liquidity. We do see over here, the IMF warns of an increased risk of rapid disorderly repricing in financial markets, which is exacerbated by existing vulnerabilities and a lack of liquidity. A liquidity crisis is growing, and it has been growing for well over 2 years now. We've been focused on this area as well because obviously if you think about XRP and Ripple, could they essentially save the world from a liquidity event? It is possible. We don't know the scope of it. We don't know if they are positioned well enough to be the savior for the monetary system around a liquidity event. But a liquidity crisis is kind of, I would say it's spreading like a wildfire. And you could definitely see it in a lot of the major financial markets around the world. I think that it really kind of officially started over in Europe. It's all really kind of ignited by, what the U.S. has been doing. And it really kind of goes all the way back to 2020. And you could argue that even going all the way back to 2008, we didn't really kind of bounce back yet from 2008. We're still dealing with the problems from 2008. But again, it's all kind of centered around central banks continuously printing money and continuously hyperinflating the markets, and things will break eventually. And I think that that's what we are kind of seeing right now. But again, what am I who am I to say, hey, it's all on central banks? I mean, technically you can kind of see it and it's been proven, but it is what it is. And talking about central banks, we actually do see the ECB president, Christine Lagarde, says that Europe isn't in a recession. Again, another laughable statement from the central banks. The central banks will not let on what's actually happening. They will not tell you the truth until it's too late. I think that there was a video that we talked about. This goes back, I would say, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago or so, where I'm pretty sure it was the IMF. They were all sitting around. I think it was all the central banks, including the Federal Reserve, actually. And they were talking about how they're just playing around with the monetary system, and they were laughing about it. They were saying, sometimes we're just, kids playing soccer, and sometimes things do get broken, and they were just laughing about it because most of these individuals don't really kind of reap the consequences of their actions. It's retail that usually does. So what do they care about breaking this entire system? But we know that the system is essentially broken. They need to fix it. And what's going to fix it? They're going to try to fix it with CBDCs and digitized assets. And we actually do see Christine Lagarde saying that over here in this video. Listen closely. It's about 1 minute and 12 seconds long. Shout out to RizXRP for this video, but listen closely.
A digital euro will actually make it more popular outside the EU borders?
Could well be, but for that, and maybe we circle back to the Atlantic Council purpose and the transatlantic relationship. And what the Council has always aimed at and for, this has to be coordinated with others. We cannot, a digital currency is borderless. It shouldn't be borderline, and it should certainly cross the line, which is why I think it should be regulated and properly supervised. But it can facilitate cross-border payments, big way. Which is why between the United States authorities, the European authorities, and others beyond that, we need to compare notes. We need to check what the imperatives are. We need to understand what is the ideal supervision and regulatory mechanism so that we have something that, systems and currencies in digital form that can talk to each other, even at retail level, and certainly more so at wholesale level.
And I do think that's very interesting in the way that she's talking, because she is talking about, regulations and how the U.S. and, even Europe need to really kind of talk about their plans. She's bringing up regulations, obviously, around specific topics within, digital assets. But then she's also talking about cross-border payments, which kind of leads us all the way back to XRP. We already know that XRP is in, a regulatory battlefield with the SEC, with Ripple. And not only that, but we also do see her talking about how these systems need to be able to talk to each other, aka interoperable, with each other to connect and discuss sort of data and transact with each other. That's also a major obstacle, right? So we've always mentioned on this channel 2 major obstacles to mass crypto adoption, specifically within the governmental area, the financial institutional area, the banking area, all of that. And those the 2 biggest obstacles are centered around 1, interoperability, and 2, regulation. Now, obviously, I think that right now we are seeing regulation being the forefront issue, and I think that once we do see that fully finished, I think that that's when we do see Quant with Overledger being ushered in to interconnect the legacy system to the digital systems, and then that's when everything is kind of full ignition. We do see, everything ramping up. We see everything being accelerated. We're going to probably see trillions of dollars flood into crypto. I mean, just from regulations alone, right? We could easily see this asset class balloon to $10+ trillion. We've talked about this on multiple occasions. I really do think that at the end of the day, crypto, I mean, to me, like I've been parking a ton of my fiat in crypto, and I think that's for good measure. I mean, I look at crypto as it's kind of, going back to the inception of Bitcoin, where it was touted as the hedge against, a recession or a Great Depression or a 2008 financial crisis, right? And do I think that Bitcoin's that? No, not exactly. I do think that it's utility-based gems that will essentially fix and put the pieces back together around this monetary system. And I think that is really kind of standing true today as well. I think that a lot of these utility gems are solving a lot of the inefficiencies within the legacy system. I think that these are the gems that will be utilized going forward. And I think that, me, parking a ton of my fiat into these specific mechanisms and these technologies is really kind of hedging against that, because we know that when the markets do bounce back, say for so we crash a little bit more, which I do have stables on the sidelines. I've been telling you guys that I'm 50-50 on a lot of things. I'm, hedged either way. I think that if we do see a major crash, once we bounce back, a lot of these utility gems are going to skyrocket in value, because at that point in time, we will see regulations being ushered in. I think that a lot of these central banks are preparing. I think that all of the major central banks around the world have been preparing actually for a while around digitized assets. And I think that it all starts with, the utility ones. XRP, Algorand, XLM, XDC, QNT, HBAR. Like, these are the main ones that we have been focused on. And there's so many other ones as well. But I can't mention all of them. I mean, there's just so many. But a large portion of them, in my opinion, are going to skyrocket in value through utilization and essentially, gluing together the pieces back to, where we were, and really kind of putting the current monetary system in order. So I really do think that the Great Reset is going to happen. It's probably going to be centered around digitized assets, CBDCs, things like that, and it's happening fast. And like I said, it is centered around liquidity. Talking about liquidity, actually, we do see over here from Ripple, they report it on this huge area, and it's more so centered around sustainability, Web3, all that kind of stuff. This is actually in London as well. It's pretty comical, right? Because the UK, like I said, has been ready for a while, so has Europe. And this is from the UBRI Connect. And in this report, actually, I found this liquidity area. And this is talking more so about on-demand liquidity. This is talking with XRP as well. We do see on its face, this is impossible because of the patchwork quilt of payment systems that cover the globe, each with distinct roles, processes, and currencies. To compensate, companies and providers must build bridges across these systems manned by payment teams that can sometimes grow to hundreds of employees. And to improve the speed of transactions, each bridge requires pools of money on either end in the local country's currency to create liquidity. The end result is an enormous investment of cost and effort that is impossible for small companies or providers to match. This leaves the reality of instant value transfer over the world's antiquated money networks the domain of only the largest and wealthiest organizations, today's equivalents of the Medici family or other well-known financial brokers of the past. And this is really kind of talking about, if we had a one bridge currency to bridge everything, or if you will, just interoperability between these major systems as well, you could have this ledger be the transfer of wealth between all of these major countries, aka all the CBDCs. Now, a lot of people believe that XRP will be that bridge, and, is that too hard to believe? Not really, but it's also a little bit of a stretch. But in this entire thing, it was really kind of talking about liquidity. I mean, even if you look at liquid here, there's 13 areas of focus. So it's talking about liquidations, talking about a global liquidation event. How could we solve it? How could we really kind of alleviate the pain points within this? And they're really kind of just talking about fixing this system. Now, obviously, is XRP going to be the main source here? We don't know. We don't know too much about this. We don't know if XRP is going to be the global, thing that fixes everything. But listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because we're still going to be holding XRP during this entire time frame anyways, or at least I am at least. But, we'll definitely have to wait and see what happens. But all of this is centered on CBDCs. And I do believe that CBDCs will need a medium of exchange between all of them. I think that, for the most part, CBDCs will have interoperability tied directly to them. I think that the core process of all of these CBDCs, all of this digital economy as well, will have interoperability tied to it all. And we've actually talked about this with Overledger. I think that Overledger is building some incredible, bridges between it with all of these CBDCs, a direct tie to DLT as well. I think that all of this is changing ever so fast, and it's a very interesting time to be a part of this market because you're essentially seeing the great reset happen before our eyes. And we've been following this topic for a very long time, and I do believe that Ripple is ahead of it, especially with a lot of their research that they are doing, a lot of the reports that they are releasing, and they are really kind of playing into the area of the Great Reset around digital assets and really kind of disrupting the entire core process of the legacy system. So it is a very exciting time. But I do think that things are very interesting around central banks. I think that we should all pay attention to, of course, today with the CPI, see what happens with the CPI report, and from there we kind of focus on what's going to happen next. So with all that in mind, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on. If you guys want more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.